Okay. So good day, everyone. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're calling in from. We're happy to have you guys here. We're happy to have everybody here. Today's section is a very interesting one. It's more like it's a global discussion. I'm happy to be joined by uh, friends and colleagues across multiple countries, and it is actually made possible by one of our partners, Mr. Ong. I'll be soon handing the realms over to him, but I would like to use this opportunity to encourage us to drop our questions and any apart from questions, if there are any comments and contributions you think will add to the discussion, do want to drop it on the chat area and we'll do address it as we go along. Thank you very much. Ong, you can go ahead.
Okay, well, firstly, I'd like to say greetings from Sydney, Australia, and wonderful to join you, and excited by the Agulite Blockchain Week panel discussion. Looking forward to participating.
Nice to have you on board.
Hello, can you hear me?
On Kokotet, yes, can hear you.
Yes.
Yep. So we have 4 panelists, Bradley, MP Nanda, and Jamiat, and Kevin. So Bradley is from Australia, MP Nanda is from India, and Jamiat and Kevin are from Singapore. Jamiat is a Burmese, so he can share his experience about Burmese in Singapore. And Kevin is a Singaporean, so Kevin can share his point of view about a Singaporean in the Web3 industry. So let's get started with Bradley. Bradley, could you please introduce us a little bit about yourself?
Certainly, thank you. Yes, my name is Bradley Hughes. I am a project manager and digital marketer by profession and trade for over 30 years, and I've spent the last 6 years working full-time in blockchain and crypto across multiple startups and developing my own 3.0 business as well. So a little bit about myself. Currently, I am one of the co-organisers of the Blockchain Sydney Meetup group. I had the great pleasure of meeting Ong Kokotet in January in Yangon, January 2020, when I was able to visit and consult with KBZ Bank and also attend Blockchain Yangon, and enjoyed an excellent afternoon session, being able to present and share my experience and meet people in the community. I haven't had the pleasure of attending a Singapore blockchain meetup yet in person, but I have done so remotely when I was working with Arcadia, a marketplaces company, in 2019. So I know we've got Kevin Peng online, and Kevin and I have been on a call also previously, and looking forward to hearing from Kevin again. In terms of what's happening in Australia at the moment, we have a very robust, vibrant and diverse blockchain and Web 3.0 community. We have hundreds of projects ranging from very small 1 and 2 person micro startups through to very well funded large scale teams that have raised $100 million in funding and are pursuing extensive Web3 and Metaverse developments. Some of you may have heard of Immutable X, for example. That's one of the big Australian success stories in the Web 3.0 NFT gaming space. There's also a variety of very innovative DeFi platforms and projects based out of Australia, and a wide array of crypto trading funds and exchanges. I have hosted or co-hosted over 100 blockchain events in the last 3 years. So I've met many people from many projects. So there's a lot I can talk about, a lot of ground I can cover, and I can also talk about my direct experience as a practitioner. So that's probably enough of an intro, and I'll stand by for questions and conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bradley. Now I think I will introduce Kevin. Kevin, are you there? Hello, Kevin? Okay. Oh, yeah. Kevin is not active, so I think he has some technical issues. So I will just move on to Yemyat Min. Hello, Yemyat. How are you?
Hello.
Yemyat is working in the Web3 industry. So please introduce a little bit about yourself so that everyone know what you're doing and what's your background.
Sure. Actually, let me try to switch on my video as well. Sorry, just give me 1 minute. Trying to figure out how this works. Don't think you can. Can you see me? Probably not yet. All right. Anyway, video is probably not gonna work. Anyway, my name is Yemyat, or as many of my friends call me. You can also call me Jeff. I used to be a software engineer since I was 12. I came from a long history of building applications on the web as well as on mobile. And then I moved to Singapore when I was young and started building stuff for other people while I was in university. And in 2013, I dropped out of college to start a company back home in Myanmar. Did that for about 10 years. We grew the company from about 4 people to, I think at peak, we had about 100 people. I was exposed to the blockchain, not industry per se, but some of the blockchain stuff that's going on, as well as the technology itself, some of the white papers, etc. In probably 2017, I was interested, but I didn't really get involved too much until recently, actually in 2020, when our country went through a difficult political and economic situation. That's actually where I became a user of Web3 and believer of Web3, because that's pretty much how I was able to move money around, sort of free my money and my assets and all of that. And I went back to Singapore in September 2021. That's where I got involved in a project called Blue Jay Finance, which is a stablecoin project in Singapore focused on building decentralized algo stablecoins for non-US dollar currencies. And recently, I am also going to be joining another stablecoin project full-time that I can't speak about yet, but it's one of the top 10 stablecoins in the world. So I'm pretty much excited about that. And I'm also very happy to share about my experience in going from Web 2 to Web 3, as well as the communities here in Singapore, as well as back home in Myanmar. Thank you.
Interesting. Kevin is in now. Are you there, Kevin? I think he's not. He's having technical difficulties. So let's move on to MP Nanda. Hello, man. How are you? Hey, can you please? MP is from India, and I'm working with him on some kind of sort of project called Cryptopia. MP Nanda, could you please share a bit about your background, where you're from, and what you're doing in Web3, and then other things?
I am from India and I'm a lawyer. For me, the journey started with Web3 while in university. One of my professors asked me to do a project on smart contracts, and that was the starting point. After I researched, I liked it and went into the rabbit hole. I sold my last company, and I'm just for last 1 year trying to get a break into this system. Now I have quite a bit experience on crypto taxes, crypto regulations around the world, and yeah.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. So, Kevin, are you in now? Kevin is still having the technical difficulties. So while we are waiting for Kevin, let me share a little bit about the today topic. share a little bit. Marcellus, can you please stop sharing your screen? I have to share my screen to explain a little bit about the background of today's topic, why we are starting this topic, and other details about Web3. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, let me share the screen. So today's topic is about having a new profession or transform your existing profession in Web 3.0. And who is talking? I'm Uncle Kudet. I am an electrical engineer by training, and I started my software company in 2015. And I'm also working with other people to in interesting projects like KBC group of companies, CrossRegius job, and play for work. I just do the VP of product engineering, and Critopia at the same as well. I'm helping them to build the product. So something is wrong. Let me just go for a better presentation. So what does it mean by Web 3.0 job? In the industry, we have these companies hiring. In industries, there are big companies like banks, accountancy firms, oil and gas, insurance, retailer, as well as law offices that want to keep up with the technology. And these industries are asking people like Abhinanda to start learning about smart contracts. And this is where you can start getting your jobs in Web3. And second area of segment is where in the startups, there are independent businesses and product created since the invention of blockchain, and you can join these startups to build products. And at the same time, in the tech firms, there are companies that are the most to lose in the case blockchain tech take with the war, like the banks, the banking industry, the bank tech firms. So they're trying to shift to a decentralized system. They need to all the expertise they can get, like this Facebook. And Facebook is now moving towards Metaverse, and this is where you can find jobs in Web3 as well. And at the same time, the governments these days, the governments are starting to create government digital currencies and other sort of interesting projects under the blockchain technology, so such. And this is the area where you can join as well. So as a professional, you could be a developer, you could be an accountant, or you could be working in public relations, or you could be working as a marketer, or you could be working as a journalist, manager. So everyone, as of today, can move their profession from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. So Web 3.0 is for everyone, not just or Bradley or Kevin or Jenya, but for everyone. So what do you need so as for you to become a professional in Web3? You need to understand about Web 3.0 emerging technologies, and you need to understand about Web 3.0 digital economy. And you need to be able to use crypto economics and artifacts. And this is how you can transform your profession or start your profession in Web3. So basically, where do you start and what is next? So basically, you can start with Web 3.0 digital mindset. The major difference between Web 3.0 and Web 2.0 is that Web 2.0, you don't need to understand about the economy, or you will simply use 2.0 resources. without the need to understand who is providing you the services, what you can do with it. But in the Web 3.0 economy, you need to understand the whole economy, who are enabling it, and who are benefiting from it. And at the same time, you need to understand what are the value creation activities in your today's profession. What I mean by that is that as an accountant, in the Web 2.0 economy, you don't really need to understand how your value creation happens. But in Web 3.0 economy, you need to looking at value creation activities of yourself and who are using the value that created by you, and what are the principal, who are the principal, who are the agents, and where do you feel right now. And at the same time, as Web 3.0 is new, you need to always look into what is happening in the product universe. What it means is that you need to just always sort of follow the news in Web 3.0 industry, and that's the starting point for you. And the second area is where you can start building digital skill set. You need to understand what are the non-custodial wallets. You need to understand how to use the exchanges, decentralized exchanges, centralized exchanges, and digital assets, digital agents, and at the same time, you need to just be skillful in Web 3.0 artifacts so that for you to be part of the Web 3.0 ecosystem. And the first step towards becoming a professional Web 3.0 is where you need to participate in a typical project. Choose at least one project that you can be part of today without spending any money. And my suggestion is that try to get paid somehow. Always evaluate how much you're able to do today to earn how much you need to learn and practice so that you could earn more in the future. So that's the thing. So basically, you only need 3 steps. One, you need to have the Web 3.0 digital mindset, which is all about understanding the value creation process and the ecosystem aspect. And the second aspect is where you need to understand about all artifacts. And at the same time, so for you to be part of the ecosystem, you're going to be part of any project which interests you. And at the same time, you can, of course, try to get paid somehow by taking part in the Web 3.0 economy. Yep, that's all about it. And so this is the background of this discussion. So I would like to bring in different people from different countries to understand what is happening in their countries and how a typical youth can start his career in Web 3.0 industry. So that's the interest of this discussion. Kevin, are you in now? I think Kevin is still not in. I think he's oh yeah, he's in. So please help me introduce Kevin. Kevin is from Singapore. Kevin, could you please share a little bit about yourself and what you're doing right now, and then what is your sort of interest in what you want to do?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Kevin. Sorry, there's some technical difficulties because I'm outside dialing in. Okay, so I came from a background of almost 25 years in the IT and telco industry, global IT and telco industry, before I moved on to financial services and in this area of blockchain. So I've been in blockchain, doing blockchain projects and all that since 2016 onwards, all the way to now. And now I'm actually very much focused on the new Web 3.0, Web 3.0 technologies of NFTs, Metaverse, and involved in quite a number of projects on that, and of course decentralized finance taking as well. So I've been through the whole process, in the early days of ICOs when it was very wild, and all the way until now when everything is being regulated and all that. My expertise is in regulations and compliance. In fact, global regulations and compliance. I have regular talks with every monthly talk with all the global senior directors of various regulators around the world, from US, SEC, UK, FCA, Japan, FSA, Singapore MES, etc., etc. So I'm on hand, and as well as FATF, Financial Action Task Force. So a very good grasp of all the regulations around the world with regards to cryptocurrency and digital assets, and also going forward things like decentralized finance is going to be regulated, by the way, if you're thinking about that, as well as like NFTs and all that, which will be regulated eventually coming end of this year. So heavily involved in that space. In Singapore, I'm actually the founding board member as well as the secretary of the Blockchain Association of Singapore, which is always in the news recently. As well as I run also top board member of a global organization called Global Impact Fintech Foundation, supported by World Bank, IMF, United Nations, and all that. And as well as I'm also I actually kind of started off the Web 3.0 subcommittee in Singapore Fintech Association. So we are starting quite a fair bit of work on that. As for myself, I run a regulated licensed entity that handles payments by crypto globally. So that's one entity. Another entity is actually a NFT marketplace that deals with, of course, it also does GameFi play to earn, as well as decentralized finance as well. So a few companies on that. I help a lot of companies actually go into this space as well. Yeah, that's probably my description about myself. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for your introduction. Please let me move on to Bradley in this case. Hello, Bradley.
Yes, right.
Yeah, about starting a new profession in Web3 or transforming professions in Web3. So it's not just talking about the bloggers or tech geeks, but for everyone. What is your view on this? Can you hear me?
Is it directed at me?
So I'm asking Bradley first because Bradley is now Bradley has to leave a little early, so that's why I'm just giving him sort of first opportunity to do that. Bradley, I think you're.
Yes. Okay. How's that? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So, my observation from being in the blockchain and Web3 space for 6 years full time now is the best way to get involved if you're at an entry level. If you have a technical skill set or you have another skill set, possibly marketing or product development or any tangential or adjacent skill set, and you have an interest in getting into Web 3.0, the best way is to start by turning up to any industry events, presentations, meetups, starting to get to know people that are active in the space, building yourself out a mind map of all the active projects and the participants and the founders, listening for who is rapidly growing, looking for talent, finding opportunities to turn up to hackathons. That's an excellent way to rapidly upskill yourself and get immersed in the concepts, the definitions, the jargon. I'm speaking as though I'm addressing an audience who's possibly at the beginning of the journey. So I think that may be, the case for some of the listeners. Really, it's about just getting really active in the community, finding out what resonates for you. Are there projects, for example, that reflect an alignment with your own personal values? Is there a change that you want to see in the world that is represented by a Web 3.0 project? Because from my perspective, the great promise of Web 3.0 is peer-to-peer disintermediation, removing of all the layers of intermediation and corporations that don't have our best interests at heart. Web 2.0, free services. When you're not paying for something, you are the product. Your data and the data you generate is what you give up to the Web 2.0 companies that they profit from. And they target you, and you are being sold to every moment that you have your hand on a digital device and your attention on a screen. You are the product that is being sold to and being sold to others. So what does Web 3.0 promise? Promises to level the playing field and to enable you to engage with other humans directly in exchange of value and conversation and seeking your tribe and where you can contribute and be rewarded for your contribution. So that's a starting point to start to look at the shift in thinking.
I see. Thank you so much for sharing. Now I will move on to Yanyet. Yanyet, what is your view on this as well?
Sure. Well, I'm going to take the perspective of a non-technical person. I think the best way to get involved, really get started is to just by downloading a wallet and starting to use something, a crypto app or a decentralized finance project. I mean, it can be daunting, but I think really you need to first experience it for yourself before you can really get involved in anything, right? So say, you start downloading, let's say, MetaMask can be a terrible example, but let's just say MetaMask, and you get some cryptocurrency in, play around with some NFTs, then you can really start your career by getting involved in a community of that particular project that you like. So for example, let's say you are into trading. There are a lot of online communities on Discord where everyone talks about trading. You can get involved in that. When I say what I mean by getting involved is not just as a community member, but also as like a moderator, where you can really start contributing to that community. That's actually where you can already start building your network and your own community basically, and go from there. Without that, I think it's pretty hard to get involved. But I do believe that joining online community is probably the best way to get involved and get started.
Thank you so much for your contribution. So now it's Kevin's turn. Kevin, what's your view on this?
Sure. So, so I think in terms of how people can join, I think I wouldn't duplicate exactly what has been said. I think that's all very good ideas to start somewhere, right? Because if you're not going to start somewhere, you won't know exactly what this is about. So, but also another thing is that there are pretty much a lot of very useful YouTube links around, right? That actually shows you exactly how to even start a wallet and all that. Because I think it's quite daunting, but I think the instructions are pretty. I think they're quite good instruction on YouTube to tell you how to start there and all that. And also to understand what exactly they give you the understanding of what exactly is DeFi, how does blockchain work and all that. So that's probably an area that people can start off with the materials. But of course, you want something that is actually for instance, something more academic, as well as something that's actually more structured, right? Then there's a lot of these courses on Coursera that is not expensive, or some of them are even free, like Udemy and all that, which you can also attend as well. So that can probably start off the education in terms of how to actually get onto this particular space. Yeah.
For your view as well. So, Pineda, how about you? What's your view on this? If someone wants to get started in India or something like yours, right? So, how should someone start his way into Web 3.0 profession? Hello? Your microphone is muted. Hello? Pineda, are you there?
Yeah. Sorry, I was having some technical issues. So can you please repeat your question? I couldn't hear you.
So what is your view on, what is your suggestion for someone who wants to start their way into Web3 progression?
So first of all, I would suggest from my experience, when I was researching and I started out, I mentally prepared myself that I used to spend in my university days around at least $50 to $60 every month for going to for entertainment purposes. And I said that at least I can pick up that amount and invest it in crypto and just look into the matter, pick up whatever crypto I can find and get involved in the community and understand what is going on. Even if I lose that $50-$60, doesn't matter. I will learn a lot. So yeah, that would be my advice. Just jump into the sea and see what happens. Oh?
Sure. Thank you for your this. So, Bradley, please feel free to leave anytime. We will start answering the questions being asked in the chat. So, people are already answering the questions.
Yes. been responding to a few points. So I'm happy to talk about my own experience as a founder of a startup and also as one of the early contractors for several blockchain startups in the space. And it's very difficult to gain traction in some cases with ideas when you might be a little bit too ahead of the curve. My experience so far has been timing is critical, and I have worked for 7 startups in 6 years before founding my own, and none of those startups achieved revenue, the first 6 that I contracted to. They were all trying to raise to fund concepts. The concepts were by and large quite sound and visionary in some cases, but they were ahead of market demand, and indeed in most cases even ahead of market comprehension. So having learned from all of those failures to get off the launch pad, in my own case, coming from digital marketing background and seeing the explosion of activity around NFTs last year, I commenced activity that I was doing in late 2016, early 2017, which was trading in crypto art. They weren't called NFTs then. There were tokens on a protocol called Counterparty. Counterparty is a layer 2 digital asset protocol that piggybacks on the Bitcoin blockchain. Counterparty.io for any people that are interested. You can check that out. And we have a very vibrant community in Counterparty on Telegram. There are, at last count that I can keep track of, there's over 30 active digital art collection projects on Counterparty with artists creating and issuing new art and trading. So what I did was started a hybrid of a Web 2.0 and Web 3 business with a lot of manual processes initially, and I'm gradually starting to look at automation and plugging in the actual Web 3.0 technology to automate, decentralize, and scale. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about an auction house where I run live NFT art auctions in Telegram, and I built a prototype using Airtable, which is quite a readily accessible. If you're not familiar with Airtable, it's like a cross between a spreadsheet and a database, cloud-based with various abilities to reference fields, create forms, etc. So I built a full auction house business model using Web3 assets, but applying my Web2 marketing skill set. So now, having established a baseline in that business, I'm starting to hire Web3 developers to start to bring in some of the automations and the technical components that will allow that business to scale and become more of a Web3 business. So that's where I'm at, and I generated over $3 million in sales in the last 12 months, and net profits were very decent, in excess, well, around the 10% mark of the revenue was the profits. And that was after having observed the other startups that I worked for trying to do something too far out in the future. Now, it's not to say that that's not worth aspiring to. And if you can get funding from investment, from angel investors, whatever, and it's going to be a 2 to 3 year roadmap to get to the point where the market will be, then that's worth an examination. But perhaps if in the short term you want to bootstrap something, look at where you can generate a cash flow positive expectancy model that will then enable you to bootstrap and fund further Web3 aspirations. So that's what I'm doing for myself, and I'm happy to take questions on that.
So this counterparty is built by you? Sorry, I didn't quite catch some of the parts of the things that you were talking about.
So my business is called Roaring Auctions. I'll put that in, and I do NFT live auctions on Telegram. I'm building out some Web 3.0 features, such as a decentralized Decentraland gallery. So I could screen share briefly, perhaps, to show what I've got going on in Decentraland, if that's of any interest.
Please do share us in this case.
Okay, so as I mentioned, running auctions, I felt it was important to have a venue to showcase the art. So commissioned a Metaverse Architect to develop a multi-level gallery. So we have an info board at the entrance to the gallery. We've got to ramp up because it's nice and easy to get up without falling off. So in the first level, displaying different NFTs, and you can, in fact, click through to see these on OpenSea. So if I click on this one, I can click view on OpenSea, and that will take it to the marketplace. So, for example, that's owned by my auction business, current price 13.37 ETH. If I wanted to sell this on market today, I would need to probably drop that to around 8 to 9 ETH, but I'm in no particular hurry to sell the asset. I'd rather wait for the right buyer when the market is in the place I want it to be. So I'm quite happy to continue displaying the art in the gallery. And so this is a multi-level structure. So in terms of employment opportunities or contract opportunities, I've employed Metaverse Architects. I'm looking for coders who can code queries against on-chain data sources and APIs to build profiles of collectors and artists and active wallets, and look at trading histories, look at trading patterns in NFT trading. So for my part, as an employer now, there's certain projects that I have in mind and skill sets that I'm looking for. And so that's along the lines of the accounting piece, the automation, Telegram bots, integrating API and backend services, and of course the metaverse experience aspect of it as well. So that's a quick look at that, and a quick talk about how I'm active in the market as a business operator. Yeah. I hope that sharing was working.
Yeah,
actually, I do have one question for Bradley, if I'm allowed to ask as a panelist, because we're talking about Web job opportunities and career opportunities for everyone, right? And one of the roles that you mentioned, which sounded really interesting, was this term Metaverse Architect, which I presume never really existed before this whole era, right? Could you talk a little bit more about that? Like, are you seeing these like new, I guess, roles that just did not exist before?
Yes. Yeah, this is a profession that's maximum of 4 years old, but in fact really only has started to get some traction in the last year or two. So platforms that, including what we just looked at is decentralized.org. There's also Sandbox. There is Somnium, Crypto Voxels. There's a few others. Those are probably the main ones. But if you have a design mindset and you can think in 3D and you can build 3D models and have experience with something like a Blender software, for example, you can build virtual building models in Blender and then deploy them into the metaverse, for example, into the Decentraland builder, and then you can add additional functionality that's unique to the metaverse. If you like design and you want to design, say, for example, many of you would know Roblox. My children play Roblox. I play with them occasionally. There's quite a diverse array of marketplace of games, and then wearables. There's a lot of wearables, costume items for dressing up your avatar. Children buy these. They pester the parents. They ask for the money, the subscription to earn the Robux, to get the currency. So they've got the universal basic income in the game every month. Then they're spending it on in-game items. A percentage of that fund goes to the creator of the item, and a fair bit of it goes to the company. Now, that's a Web 2.0 business model. But in a Web 3.0 business model and in Decentraland as a creator, if you create a really appealing, funky costume design. It might be like a spacesuit jacket. You might have a Mars Panda avatar collection, for example, just to shout out to Kevin. You can sell those wearables and they become tradable items on chain. And this is the future where we're heading to with gaming NFTs, metaverse wearables, metaverse assets, where you can really take your own destiny into your hands. As a creative or a technical person, you can initially get contract work to develop your capability and expertise, and then later you can launch your own offerings into markets. And there's platforms where you can earn royalties as well on resale of your collections. We've seen that already in the NFT space. So, look, the sky's the limit. Start somewhere where you have a degree of competence and confidence and passion, and progress. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bradley. So let's move on to Kevin, because some of the questions are related to this regulatory issues. So the first question is this: what are your thoughts on the recent crackdown on crypto by countries who feel threatened by crypto?
Yeah, sure. So it's actually not cracked down by one country, or it's not exactly a crackdown, but in terms that they are all countries except for a few are actually looking to regulate cryptocurrency, right? So basically, because I speak to all the regulators around the world, I have a very clear view of exactly what's happening, including the Financial Action Task Force, right? So basically, Financial Action Task Force, or what is known as FATF, right, is the governing body globally that's under IMF, right, International Monetary Fund, that actually runs financial regulations around the world. And cryptocurrency is considered a financial product. Now, what happened is this: FATF, whenever they come with all the guidelines, right, basically all the regulators around the world will have to comply. If they don't comply, they'll be officially on a sanction list, or what it defines as a grey list, which means that money in and out of the country will be controlled, and then they cannot enter the banking system. It will affect the economy very, very badly if, let's say, they do not comply, right? So, essentially, right now FATF has a certain view, and the latest guideline from FATF with regards to cryptocurrency and digital assets is actually published 28th of October 2021 last year. It was very comprehensive, includes quite a number of views, and some they actually leave it down to the local regulations in the local countries to actually enhance and to add on their own as well. But going forward, everything will be regulated, including things like decentralized finance. Now it's actually going to be regulated as well. It's been stated very clearly in FATF, and now there's actually enhanced amendments to that particular section, right, to actually how to actually regulate things like DeFi, right, decentralized finance, as well as like the DAO model, right. There's actually some new reviews they're actually taking as well. So the view of actually thoughts on actually recent crackdown, right, it's actually not exactly a crackdown. It's just that they are regulating all this cryptocurrency. That means you no longer have a wild west where everybody is anonymous, you can do whatever you want and all that. No longer the case. Now people actually track in terms of how you actually trade the crypto, where the money goes from and all that. Now it is a fallacy in the past that people say that it's on a blockchain, it cannot be tracked. It is no longer true, right? There's a new technology that's derived out of Israel and China that can track everybody's wallet, despite the fact it's actually moving on blockchain. They can track exactly where you are sitting right now, basically with the use of satellite and also quantum technology. So these are something that they're actually applying from the US, from all the major regulators, to track exactly how cryptocurrency funds are actually moving from wallet to wallet. So nobody is actually that anonymous if they think about it, which is why they know about all this. They can actually retrieve money from hackers' wallet and all that kind of thing. They can track it down to North Korea. They can track it down to whoever is actually doing certain hacks on certain exchange. While in the past, you can't really know what's going on. So they can track the source of funds, source of transaction coming from Russia and all that kind of things right now. It's very different from the space 6 years ago when it's untrackable. Right now, the technology is available by various governments to track all these kind of things. So basically, end of the day is in this world, right? I would want to say that it's like who actually owns the gun runs the world, and who owns the gun? These are the governments, right? So the space is going to develop into space where it's going to be another financial product that basically things are regulated. Now going and actually probably adding on to the point that Bradley actually mentioned, right? So obviously cryptocurrency will not be able to take over the currency of the country, right? Let's face it, this is not going to happen. The only thing is that the government will come up with something called the central bank digital currency, Now this is not crypto. This is just something disguised as crypto to let you think that it's actually crypto, but it's not. Right? It is essentially just the same currency. They just digitize it and then they call it central bank digital currency. This is still very much centrally controlled by the government in terms of the issuing of the money flow, the money supply, and all that. This is not cryptocurrency, which is the heart of cryptocurrency is actually decentralization, which means that it's decentralized. It's actually supposed to be not from a central authority. How much supply and demand comes from the demand and supply of the market itself. Now, so CBDC by itself is not crypto, but this is what the government is trying to tell people, that this is the version of the crypto. Now, how the rest of the crypto taking over, it is not possible, not in our lifetime, not in the next lifetime. Why? By giving away, it means giving away the power of the government. Would you think that your government want to give away their power and have a fully decentralized world? It's not going to happen now. It's going to happen in a few hundred years, maybe in the future, when they stop killing each other and all that for happy reasons, right? Yes, maybe human has evolved to that state, then it's possible, but not now at this moment in time. So yeah, essentially that's what I see it is going to happen, and regulations are going to come in straight into that. So there's not going to be a space where it's a freedom. Yes, there are countries that are officially taking legal tender at El Salvador, but let me tell you straight off, because I do have contacts with regular meetings with Department of Justice USA and FBI. That country is actually under monitoring by CIA right now. So basically, there's some financial action taken off by the US government on El Salvador. Dubai, who is now officially very crypto-friendly, is officially on the sanction list of this financial action task force. So all banks are not able to actually send in money and out money of Dubai. So the financial authority in Dubai are trying to fix that right now, because it will affect them as a financial hub in the world, which means that money is drying off from there, and it includes also sanctioning of all their transaction activities in Dubai out. So this is what is happening, and we just need to be aware of that. Yeah. Thanks.
What you are saying is that we should not be so extreme in such a way that we should not think that governments are cracking down the cryptos. Basically, it is all about being more responsible. It's all about protecting the people. At the same time, decentralization is good, but government won't be sort of allowing people to be 100% decentralized and things like that. And at the same time, there will always be some regulations coming into place in different countries, and that's I think your view on the question, I guess. So the next question that we have is yep. So the next question that we have is this: can cryptocurrency at any point in time take over a country's native currency? So what's your view on that?
As I mentioned just now, there is no way cryptocurrency will take over the native currency of the country, as I mentioned, because they are coming at things like what Bradley has correctly said. Central bank digital currency, essentially, it is just digitized that means that the country's currency, digitization of the local currency, right, to actually look like crypto, but it is not crypto. So a lot of people have to understand that central bank digital currency, it is not crypto. Crypto is decentralized. Central bank digital currency is centralized, right? So you can see the difference. Centralized means it's controlled by a single authority, which is the government. Crypto is not controlled by a single authority. It's actually fully decentralized, right? So this is actually used by the people. So no government will give up this control. You tell me, can you list out which country will do that, right? So basically, the only one that is actually being hero is actually El Salvador, and this is costing them heavily. They are officially going to be on the blacklist of the entire sanction list, which means that no funds in and out of El Salvador will be actually allowed soon. That's number one. Number two, they are really on the watch list of both the FBI and CIA in pretext of saying drug dealings and all that in the country. So while people are saying that it's a high good place and all that, right, things are actually not looking very well for that particular country itself. Again, as I mentioned, right, Dubai is trying to make cryptocurrency the hub and all that, and this is exactly what's happening to them. Malta did try in the hub, and then Malta is now destroyed, 100% destroyed as a financial hub. They are gone as a country. So basically, this is something that's happening. Now, countries which are declaring they are making their legal tender, and they won't. You see, that's the difference, right? They say it's legal tender, but they never say it replaces the national currency. No country is actually doing that right now. So this is never ever going to happen unless the government is going to be destroyed, right? It's a country that has no government. So, but think of it, do you want to live in a country that has no government? Do you feel safe living in a country with no government? Yeah.
Oh, yep, that's a very good point. So technically speaking, there should be no such thing as some 100% decentralized cryptocurrency being used in the country. Or like sort of the governments who like to sort of promote using such kind of things in of their countries.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that what we can do is that live with what exactly the regulations and create innovative products that really help people, that really solve certain problems while understanding regulations and also trying to work with the regulations as well, right? So this is the space that I think that is the future that we're actually foreseeing. Now, at the same time, to be engaged with the various authorities and all that, to let them understand more, because as Bradley actually correct, and maybe a lot of people are ahead of the curve in terms of the financial model and all that. I can guarantee you none of the regulators actually understand fully what is decentralized finance. They don't know what is the DeFi protocols exactly. How NFT works in terms of the NFT staking and all that, they also do not understand, right? The value of NFTs and all that. So the thing is that rather than them having a misunderstanding, it's actually for the industry, like for instance the association I'm actually with, or associations I'm actually with, to actually work with the authorities, both locally and globally, to understand this better, so that the regulations that come out at a certain time, at least there's a certain point of control which the government is feeling comfortable with, but at the same time not killing the innovation. So this is exactly what the responsibilities of leaders in this space are actually doing, right? Together with the authorities, the government. Like for instance, Coinbase, right? Coinbase, the guy is actually doing, the Coinbase CEO is actually doing that thing. Same with some of the other leaders, they are trying to do that, but not all the leaders are doing that. In fact, some are actually really making the situation worse. Yeah.
I see. So I have another question. I have seen that this Singapore has one of the best regulatory laws, right? Defined like this one. Basically, they talk about like altogether 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 and 4, 28 areas of sort of interest that they want to protect the people from. And anyone who wants to do the innovation can apply for license in the regulatory, if I'm not wrong. Can you please explain a little bit about this Payment Services Act and the beauty of it and the people who are not from Singapore?
Sure. So Singapore is one of the first few jurisdictions that actually has a very clear licensing regime with regards to payment services and in particular cryptocurrency. So that was formulated in 2019. So the industry actually contributed to form the policy rather than having the regulators forming it. But the good thing is that this particular set of regulations and licensing and all that is very much in line with what Financial Acting Task Force is looking into. So that's actually one of the first, licensing very clear guidelines that actually started in the world in 2019. Subsequently, other jurisdictions around the world, right, in 2020 onwards, started to actually do the same thing as well, but nothing as complete as what Singapore has done in terms of regulations for cryptocurrency. Now, in terms of licensing as well. So essentially what it means is that all cryptocurrency in terms of that defines exchanges for both from crypto to fiat currency to crypto, crypto to crypto are now fully regulated in Singapore. And this is a licensing regime that has gotten enhanced from 2021 to the current 2022. Now all compliant to basically what Financial Action Task Force is looking. So basically decentralized finance is also now being regulated under this particular act as well, right, in terms of some of the specifics and all that. So this is the licensing regime basically for those who don't understand that this is coming from Singapore. So Singapore is one of the first who came out of it. Subsequently, the rest of the other jurisdictions like the UK, etc., are also coming with regulations. Now, Australia has a very early set of in terms of understanding of this, but then it is never a licensing regime for that. It is defined as a registration as a crypto company to say that you comply with certain KYC AML, but it's not a license per se. There isn't such a thing yet. Same as any other country, even for the UK and all that. The only one that has a very their own set of very clear guidelines actually in Japan, but it's actually not based on international. It's based on just specific to certain exchanges and service provider. Now, fast forward to obviously 2022, most of the jurisdictions have a very clear set of guidelines from Financial Action Task Force and create a set of licensing based on that. Some of them actually refer to Singapore in terms of how they actually develop this particular set of licensing. So I think essentially that's the Payment Services Act, it is having a category of licensing, especially just to regulate cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your explanation. So now moving on to Abhinanda, what are your views about this question? Where yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, you can complete your question again if you like.
Hello.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, in my view, the regulations will evolve, and I want to give everyone an example. In 2000, in the year 2000 and 1999 and 2000, when Y2K was on its footing, and Infosys, Indian company, came to save the world, kind of in a way. And when they set up their Bangalore offices and hired engineers and started working on and started exporting softwares, new software, the customs department of India went into their office and said that show us the software and why you are not taking permission from us before exporting. And they were like, how can we show the software? Like, it's just a set of codes. So basically, it happens whenever there are new innovations in the market, government takes time to catch up. But it's the duty of the industry to formulate panels, formulate associations and lobby groups to lobby the government and make them aware of the facts so that they can understand it and make better plans according to it. For example, a lot of crypto companies in most of the democratic countries are like hiring lobbyists, and they are advising government to make favorable regulations around the world. Oh, are you there?
Yeah.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah. One question. Is crypto legal in India?
For now, crypto is legal and regulated in India. Like it is taxed at 30%. But there is a factor that RBI in India, which is the Central Bank of India, they want to totally outright ban crypto, whereas the Finance Department of India, they are very keen to keep it regulated and enjoy taxes from crypto. So that's a real kind of war between RBI and the Finance Department of India.
Thank you for your comment.
For now, it's absolutely legal to hold crypto in India. You just have to pay the taxes.
I see. Thank you so much for your comments. Now I'll move on to Yamiet. Yamiet, what is your view on this? As you are someone who used to live in Myanmar, where crypto are not blessed by the central bank, and now you are in Singapore, the most sophisticated country where all the regulatories are favoring crypto.
Oh, that's a difficult question. I guess contextually, crypto is outright illegal in Myanmar. It's illegal to hold, it's illegal to transact, it's illegal to do anything around crypto, especially not just under this new military regime, but also previously as well. I think the challenge when I was talking with some of the regulators back then was because, they didn't really understand the extent of the technology and what it could do. So therefore they ban it. And second, it's not about feeling threatened, but more about protecting the interests of consumers, because there were already a lot of scams, ICO scams, whatever, not happening even in a country like Myanmar, where it's still very much underdeveloped. So that's why there was a ban. But fast forward to 2021, one of the core reasons why this was banned was crypto was being used as a way to move money into Myanmar, which the government cannot control. Of course, the military government does not want anybody to move money into Myanmar for reasons other than the reasons that they like. So if you're doing something else that they don't like, they don't want you to move their money, right? So therefore, it's banned. My perspective on this is, I think governments can probably ban crypto from being transacted on a daily basis, but it probably will continue to exist as a medium of value or a storage of value somehow. And people will continue, I mean, the believers will probably continue to hold crypto regardless of whether it's legal or not legal. And I think the innovation around crypto will probably continue to be there, regardless of whether the government ban it or do it. I think Bradley put it quite beautifully as well. If you are building a company in crypto, I think, yes, the best way is to make sure that you found a fine line position between what the regulator wants as they care about market efficiencies and innovation. And that's the only way that you can probably continue to exist. But in terms of career, I think all these new opportunities around like, metaverse, the what do you call that? The one that Bradley mentioned just now, Metaverse Architect, etc., will probably continue to exist. I think what we need to understand is a lot of these regulations are mostly around financial and DeFi, and Web3 is so much more beyond that. Web3 is fundamentally shifting the digital culture, the identity culture, privacy, etc. A lot of those, I guess, changes of mindset and technology will continue to exist. But if you talk about DeFi, yes, surely, even in Singapore, I have no doubt that this will become regulated.
So let me share my view on this to the panelists, and I would like to ask for your comments as well. So there's one issue or one opportunity or whatever when it comes to being part of the Web3 ecosystem, which is that I can own crypto in Singapore while I am sitting in Myanmar or in Nigeria or in India. And I can leverage on Singapore sophisticated regulatory guidelines and make my money there online without the need to go to Singapore at all. So basically, that's my view on this. And what are your view on this as well? I'll start from Bradley. What do you think about this? Bradley's gone, I guess. Hello?
I do apologise on that point. I did have to attend to something else just now. Could you just repeat the question for me?
Yep. So what I'm thinking it is, as a Burmese citizen, I could own a crypto in Australia or in Singapore because it is legal there, and nobody can stop me from owning crypto like e-commerce in different countries. So basically, I can be sitting in Myanmar and take part of Web3 project in Singapore as well. So basically, right, if that happens, right, what are your views on this?
Yes, if you manage your jurisdictional participation cleanly, provided there is not a specific law in your country of residence that prohibits you from participating in economic activity in other jurisdictions, then you would be on safe ground to do that. Unfortunately, I think there are a few countries that are making it quite difficult for their citizens to participate in economic activity outside their national constructs. But look, if you manage your affairs quietly in a way that doesn't draw undue scrutiny and you're not doing anything that's going to cause any upset, there's no reason why you couldn't join a DAO in another country or be a contractor to a project and be paid in tokens. The income could be declared in that country, particularly if you set up a business. Like, for example, in Switzerland or in the Netherlands, you can, for a very reasonable cost, like I think baseline starting from less than 100 euros a month, you can rent a company. So you can trade as a company for a duration of a contract and be paid in that jurisdiction that has nothing to do with your home jurisdiction. And what you do privately with those funds, as long as there's not a specific law that you would be targeted for, I see no problem with that.
So how about Kevin? What's your view on this?
I definitely agree with Bradley. So I think as long as the country let's say for instance in Singapore, right, there's no law that says that you cannot send a certain amount of money or there to sanctioned countries and all that. As long as you can go with regards to regulations, then you're right. In fact, you can actually own digital assets in Singapore and all that. Now, of course, this can be actually also used as a way of legally sending money back to Myanmar, because after all, there's still financial channel moving, money between Singapore and Myanmar, as well as obviously the Myanmar government need to understand that it's coming from Singapore legally and all that. Then, so this could be a way of actually sending remittance back to Myanmar legally from Singapore. So, but of course, we have to look into exactly what's the context of that as well. So same thing for owning so-called crypto legally in other countries as well. This is exactly what the Chinese people are doing, right? Because you see, in China, crypto is banned, 100% banned fully, and there's quite stringent in regards to that. But yet, you can tell I think all the various, the biggest population in the world that owns crypto is actually the Chinese, despite them banning it, right? Because why? They actually own it, elsewhere in Singapore, in US, in UK, and all that. So that doesn't stop them as well. Now, if the moment you actually remove the so-called volume from Chinese, right? Basically, I think at least 70% of the crypto market in the world is gone. so that's a good example to show how people actually go around that, and then how they can actually work on jurisdiction where it's actually friendly. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your comments. How about Daniel? What's your view on this?
I think I share the same sentiment with the earlier two panelists. I don't have any much more things to add.
How about Abhinanda? What's your view on this?
I concur with all the panelists here, and I would say from my own experience as a professional advisor for crypto traders, I work with a lot of people from US and South Korea, and also from India, and they are setting up their companies, offshore companies, to conduct their trading activities. Particularly, citizens of US, they for short selling trading activities in NFT, they deployed different types of companies in Singapore or other jurisdictions. That's fine, but I have encountered a problem from my experiences. Putting money into crypto in this offshore jurisdiction is easy, but getting the money out into your own jurisdiction in your own currency, it is kind of difficult. For example, like getting Indian rupees out of the country and putting it into a NFT or something out in Singapore, it's easy. But selling that NFT and converting it into Singaporean dollars and converting back into INR, it is quite difficult. Like you have to show to the government that this money is well intentioned, like it is not important or anything. That's all from my side.
Probably to add to that, right? I think this is an interesting point. So basically, it's again back to the same question of regulations and innovation. So while things are regulated, but you can always find innovative ways to make use of the regulations to support you, right? So basically, in this case, right, there are now a lot of different models that uses financial instruments, right, to make that happen. Let's say, for instance, in the case of the staking, right? So sending money using cash, like for instance your local currency, through credit card, to actually purchase, let's say for instance, a staking product, to stake in money and then get returns and all that. Now this is already happening, but basically how can you actually use that to stake and then eventually get back into your local currency? That's always the question. But now there's actually a proper way to do it under regulated activity. When it's a regulated activity and it's actually coming from a regulated entity source, let's say from Singapore, right? So any money that sends from a regulated entity source out through the banking system, because the regulated entity would have be part of the SWIFT system, having a bank account and all that, and from that particular account standing back by local currency, right? Of course, obviously you have to suffer forex rates and all that, but the thing is that from that going back to your local bank account in the local currency is not possible, because in the SWIFT system, the banks see that as a valid and trusted source of funds, right? Coming really verified by the banking system. So if that's actually done correctly right now, with something that I'm also trying to do right now, then it becomes again a balance between where you can participate in the world of decentralized finance and yet able to get back into the so-called Indonesian rupee, the Indian rupee local currency as well. So this is all possible as long as you actually see how you can actually use the regulations to actually work it out. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your comment, Kevin. So we have spent around 1 hour or more to discuss about new profession, but we mostly talk about the legal stuff. And we also, I think Bradley has also shared a bit of opportunities in the chat as well. So Kevin, if you have some opportunities for the talk, please feel free to share in the chat as well. And also for Jamie.
Sure.
And yep. So for now, although the time is set for 2 hours, I think it's too tiring for all of us. Bradley is also like I think Bradley needs to leave early, and I am not really in a good shape. I'm really sick, so I think I would like to just end this meeting early. Um, so I will allow the audience to ask 3 questions, and we will answer 3 questions, and then we will end this discussion as of today. What do you think, Marcellus?
Okay, that's good. That's good. This is like you say. This is 1 hour 15 minutes, and we've gotten a lot from the discussion so far. So no problem. Let's go with 3 questions. Although there are some questions also on the chat area. Probably we can address them. But let's take the questions from people that are live here in the discussion. Okay. So we have 3 slots for questions. So if you want to ask a question and probably you are not allowed to spout, you can drop, you can indicate on the chat area. I will give you access to speak here.
You want to ask question on behalf of Marcellus?
Okay.
We talk about Myanmar setting, India setting, this India background, Australia and Singapore, but how about this Nigeria? Or what's your view, and then what's your particular questions about this? Starting a new profession or transforming your profession in Web3 for industry?
Okay, so if I'm getting you right, you are asking, the question is that what are the steps or how about starting a new profession in work?
No. I'm asking you.
Here in Nigeria,
I'm
right?
asking you to ask a question on behalf of the audience to us under this topic.
Okay, yes. Some of the questions, I think some of our team members are dropping the questions on the chat area. But I think one that I find most fascinating, and I want most of us to contribute to it, is when we are talking about the opportunities in the Web 3.0 space, we talked about new roles that are evolving, that are coming out from the space. We talked about some roles that were not there last year. So can we highlight some of the roles? Because one thing with new opportunities and new technologies is that some of us get stuck in what we know. We think that if it's not just being a blockchain developer or just being a crypto trader, you cannot do any other thing in this space. So can you help us highlight a few other roles, maybe technical and non-technical, that can give us more opportunity, that widen our scope on how we can get into the Web 3.0 space?
So, what are your questions?
Okay. Did you get the question?
Do you have? I didn't get the question. Can you please repeat the question again?
Okay. So the question is, what are the roles? What are other roles in the Web 3.0 space apart from blockchain development, blockchain developer or crypto trader? Other roles that we can actually, someone else that wants to come into, whether as a technical or non-technical person, what are the roles that are evolving, that are coming up in the space that we can explore? We want to get into the space.
So you mean what are the other roles, right? So I think Bradley has already talked about the roles that he is looking for as well. Bradley, you want to repeat again?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak in general terms. I mean, right now I'm looking for some specific trading analysis and data gathering and presentation development work. In the near future, I'll be looking for additional Metaverse architecture work, potentially customizing buildings in Metaverse, but that's not right now. Right now, it's more around the the market analysis tools and managing querying against wallets through APIs, doing comparisons, SQL queries against different holders of NFTs, balances, and recent price histories, that kind of thing. So I can put a website link in that I really like in terms of what they've done for a particular set of NFTs called Rare Pepes. I've been trading Rare Pepes since 2016. I'm looking to build some tools for my own benefit. So Pepe.wtf, I'd suggest have a look at that. I'm happy to discuss ideas with anyone. But more broadly and more generally, search for DAOs who are looking for contributors. A lot of DAOs are paying in DAO tokens that later could be redeemable for economic value in the networks that are being developed. So as a method of getting your hat in the ring, or your whatever analogy you want to use, your toe in the water, or you're getting in the game, joining a project, joining hackathons, finding where you can contribute. There's roles for all kinds of skill sets: project coordinators, product designers, content creators, all sorts of stuff. It doesn't have to be technical particularly. Community engagement management is a big one as well. Managing Discord servers, that kind of thing. So there's just a few ideas, and there's lots of scope out there. That's very true. That actually reflects some of what I was saying. So perfect, Jeff. Yeah.
I think James already shared about the rules. How about Kevin? Do you have any sort of comments on that?
Okay, so probably just for me to add on just before we close this off is that besides the roles that Bradley has kindly kind of identified, which I fully agree. So there are also other roles that in terms of like people who does the economy.
Hello.
Right, economists who understand how project will work in terms of. Those are not technical in terms of like tokenomics and all that. At the same time, there are also legal, right? Legal that people are actually going to as well. Yeah.
Sorry, Kevin. I think we missed some of the part of the thing you are talking about. Can you please repeat that again? I think the line dropped.
Yeah. Sure. I think besides what Bradley has kindly identified, so I think the other non-technical aspects of the kind of roles that is possible in Web 3.0 are your compliance and legal. So people who are lawyers and do legal work and doing compliance work have found a very good space that pays very well this space right now in terms of understanding how it actually complies with regulations, legal framework in terms of like legal contracts in this particular space as well. So that's actually benefited a lot of people in this space. In fact, compliance and legal are actually the highest paid in this industry right now. So the next one is, of course, the things like tokenomics development, people who are economists, who are economy trained, who can actually can look into the token economy as well. So yeah, probably that I can actually sit down the Telegram because my internet is yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. See you around, and bye.
Okay. Before we conclude, there's a question suggestion. This one is off specific. It's not like a blockchain specific question. And since we have Web 3.0 experts here, and we know the trend going on, so I have just an off-topic question, but I believe we can shed more light on it. So someone said on the group that regulation and innovation, sometimes there is a fine line between both of them. So I'm asking, what are your thoughts on that? That is it possible that over time the regulation can actually limit the innovation? And what do you think, is there any way around it? That's the talk between regulations and innovation. I know we talk about innovation, but just a little bit off topic. Regulation and innovation, how do we balance the two? I'm asking from Nigeria because on our own country there is a crackdown.
Marcellus, would you mind trying to shorten the question? First of all, I didn't really hear what you're asking. And second of all, you are talking too long and I didn't really quite catch what you said.
Okay. Okay, so the question is the line between regulation and innovation. So how do countries like Nigeria actually navigate through that line? Regulations and innovations coming up in the space.
Just answer that question. I'll take the answer first. So for me, like from the way I look at it, like Web3 is not about living in one country and confined to the opportunities in the country. Web3 is all about joining the cross-border global community and being able to innovate with different people across border. If you look at today, we have people from Nigeria, Australia, Singapore, India, and Myanmar, and we are meeting online. And at the same time, you might have heard that we also talk about the possibility to move money without the need to be looked over by financial action task force. So you could always work in Singapore, or you could work in Australia, or you could work in the US without the need to leave your country, as long as you know how to move your assets or you move your income from that particular country to your country. So Web 3.0 is not about sitting there and looking for people to help you. Web 3 is all about being able to look for your own opportunity by putting effort on your future by yourself. My answer for your question is this, right? Looking at a fine line between innovation and regulation is not a big thing if you are a digital entrepreneur. Digital entrepreneurs are the people who use all the digital artifacts in the ecosystem to leverage on so that they can start business. So a lot of people in Nigeria are already starting their profession in blockchain as well, I guess. And also at the same time, I have a lot of friends who are working in US companies and getting paid from them in Myanmar without the need to leave the country. So for me, I think this is the answer for your question. How about you, Bradley? You have any idea on this?
I'm sorry, once again, I just got called away briefly for something, just a family situation. So I'm back again. So where were you up to?
Masala is asking for some comments about looking for a fine line between innovation and regulatory, what they should do as Nigerians.
Well, I think with that just be mindful of what can create economic value utilizing the benefit of decentralized technology, but will still be perceived as friendly to the existing status quo, not seen as a direct oppositional threat against what a particular government decree is. I'm trying to be very diplomatic in how I word this, but rock the boat a bit, but not too much, I suppose. I don't know what else to add to that. And if you think you've got something that's profoundly visionary, that's going to change the future of humanity in a way that's going to improve things dramatically, that you can't let it rest and you have to do it, find a jurisdiction where you can run with that and get yourself there. And if that's your passion and your calling, so be it. Do what you need to do.
How about Kevin? What are your suggestions on this? Kevin is gone. What about your Yemyat? I think this will be our last question and answer, and we will conclude the discussion
Sure.
today.
Now, my perspective on this is, people who innovate and people who build will continue to build regardless of regulation, and that's how innovation really is. I always find regulation as a catch-up game. So regulators will come in when your project or the particular technology that you're building is successful and trying to get into mainstream. Then regulators will step in, right? So, in my opinion, if you're really feeling really convicted about your idea or whatever that you're building, go do it, regardless of where you are, who you are, whatever you do, just go do it. And then forget about regulation, because if you continue to think about regulation, you'll never get innovation. So do it, but obviously, of course, don't get into trouble too much, as Bradley had mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So start from innovation, and then think about regulation as the next step. But regulation must be thought through. But start with innovation without talk about regulation, because regulatory will always catch up if you are doing the things right.
Yeah, I mean, when regulators catch up, you're doing the good thing.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
Hey, I just want to add something to this.
Please do.
So, in my experience, whenever there is a new innovation, there is always problem with regulation. It's just that knowing that what regulations you can just ignore and avoid for now, and in future you can manage them, and what regulations you have to comply right now. That is a fine line, and as an innovator, you have to understand that.
So your view on this is that we should also look ahead about the regulation as well.
Yeah, look into the future. For example, when there was a discovery of electricity, Thomas Edison electrocuted an elephant. Had he been in today's world trying to do that, he would have been ended up in jail or something like that. So it's basically like what kind of regulations you can avoid for now, like nobody will bother or anything, and what kind of regulations you have to consider or manage in future. You have to be aware of this.
I see, I see. So I think you're talking about the same thing, just from a little bit different point of view. So of course, when we do the innovation, we don't need to think about regulation first, but we always need to sort of map this to the regulation today, and regulation that could be happening in the future as well, which is also a good point as well. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for your comments and your time as well. Sorry about today, because I didn't really. This is like sort of happening in a very short notice. So I think first of all, we got time for Australia and Myanmar wrong, and so we have miscalculated the time, and then this is the reason why I had to leave early, and Bradley had to leave early, because I thought that it is like from 4 to 6, and Bradley thought that it should be from 7:30 to 9:30, but now it's already sort of so the time difference is like sort of 30 minutes sort of miscalculated, and because of that, I think we got to end this discussion as of now. So I'm sorry for because I should have look at this earlier, but somehow I might miss that. So my apology for all this mistake, and I would like to see you guys again in upcoming session as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. On behalf of the whole team here at Agulite, I would like to show appreciation to the panelists for coming in. Yes, the time was very short notice, but for coming up and giving us wonderful insights on the space itself. And I believe that from this discussion, a lot of people in the community will actually dive into the space head on. Thank you for the encouragement. Thank you for the directions you guys have pointed us to. Thank you for the resources. The whole essence of the blockchain week is to ease the entry to the Web3 and the blockchain space. And I believe that this discussion also sheds a lot of light on how to get into this space. We really appreciate, and we also want you guys to subsequently whether we can carry on some other conversation. It might not be in this one, but hopefully we'll carry on further conversation around this topic. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys, and see you again soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.